zero tolerance for this kind of racist and bigoted behavior. It will not be tolerated. That is why that house is immediately closed. That is why those young men will have to have their belongings out of that house by midnight tomorrow. And as they pack their bags, I hope they think long and hard about what they've done.
2 University of Oklahoma students expelled after the video of a racist fraternity chant surfaces. So is this an example of racial culture within the Greek system and on campuses in general? And should anybody really be shocked? Let's welcome back to MidPoint. Civil rights activist and director of the TeaParty.net, Niger Innis, joins us on the show. Niger, good to talk to you again.
Good morning. Great to be on with you.
I hate to say it, but I asked the question earlier, and I'm going to ask it again. In regard of everything that is happening in America these days, we see the video from this fraternity over the weekend. It has created this stir. But why is anybody really shocked that this sort of thing continues to exist?
Well, I think people are not so shocked that it still exists. I think people were just shocked that it was actually captured on video, and their senses were offended by actually seeing this on videotape. But I actually, though, call me naively optimistic, but I actually look at this situation and I see 2 extraordinary actions. One, I see the quick, rapid reaction by the president of the University of Oklahoma to condemn this endeavor, to suspend the activities of that fraternity, to remove those students from the University of Oklahoma and set a proper tone, not only for the University of Oklahoma, but for other universities throughout the country. And then the second point is I look at the actions of the Black Student Union president, who said we should not look at this as a reason to fight hate with more hate, but we need to fight hate with love. And I tell you, you call me naively optimistic, but I see 2 extraordinary silver linings out of this horrific incident.
I don't think there's anything wrong with being optimistic here, Niger, but let's also be very honest here. There was a quick reaction, but then again, something like this and things like this have gone on college campuses now for generations, for decades. It continues to go on, and many people simply ask, why are these fraternities allowed to get, and even in some cases sororities, allowed to get away with this? It happens. Schools haven't locked down. Schools haven't been very hard on it. You've got one instance here where a university actually sees it and does something, but it's being allowed at other places. It's almost as if it's, don't worry, they're nothing more than just kids, it'll go away. Wouldn't you agree that that at least still seems to seep through the college system in some places?
Well, I think we should not necessarily conflate the excesses of Greek life. And I did not pledge a fraternity, even though I was approached by one when I went to Georgetown. I did not pledge, so I'm not an expert in that. But there's no question that there are excesses in Greek life, and it's not just a question of racism, a question of abusing the potential pledges. The types of things that they have to go through. I think that's one question that certainly we can examine and discuss, and is problematic. And you're right, it is decades old.
Whatever happened to it being about college, though? I mean, really, I got about a minute left here. Whatever happened to it being about going to college and to learning, and instead of that, going to these Greek houses, these fraternities, whatever, and basically acting like unchecked animals in many cases?
Yeah, well, look, let's be blunt and honest here. We
Please.
all know that kids go to college to get an education, but kids also go to college because it happens to be the cool school, it happens to be the place with the cutest girls or the cutest guys. There are all kinds of motivations. In the particular part of the country that they want to go, all types of reasons why kids go to college. I think we should look at this particular incident, and you're right, it is not an isolated incident. There are other excesses by Greek organizations or fraternities and sororities all across this country. I think this has shocked the system of the country, if you will, and the senses of the country, so much so that I think there will be some internal reforms.
Let's hope that it has at least in some cases shocked them to the point of understanding that this happens in other places, that this is something that needs to be dealt with immediately, and you don't give somebody a free pass. Right?
I couldn't agree with you more,
Okay.
but I still want to end on the silver lining out of that situation.
Okay, the silver lining is good, but I'm going to ask you to stick around because we're going to come back on the other side of the break with you, Niger. Hang tight. Second issue to be undertaken here with regard to college campuses. It's really simple. Why, and keep asking yourself this, why the rates of sexual abuse have been allowed to rise so quickly and so quietly? Again, things being swept under the carpet at universities. It's next on MidPoint. All right, let's get back to work. Let's welcome back the executive director of TeaParty.net, Niger Innis, joins us. Niger, I just want to follow up on what we were just talking about a little bit with college campuses, because there is now a thinking process from a lot of people that maybe the whole idea of fraternities has outlived its usefulness at this point. That frankly stated, it's there for social reasons, but many people say that all too often it hides a dark, seamy side of college life, and there simply are things there that are unnecessary to be on a college campus. What do you think?
Well, you know, again, I'm not an expert on Greek life,
Agreed.
but I will say this. But having said that, I do know that Greek life has not only a tremendous impact in colleges, it has a tremendous impact on life after college for many. I mean, you probably already noticed that you know, somewhere between 40 and 50% of all U.S. presidents pledged and were Greek members of fraternity. You know, of the top 10 corporations, 10 of those CEOs came from fraternity life. So obviously, and throughout professional life throughout the country, the Greek system has had a tremendous amount of power. And you know, personally, I always said that I was a member of the most important fraternity, me, myself, and I. You know, but and I never rushed. Okay, but having said that, our First Amendment gives us freedom of association, and I think the degree to which universities should have the responsibility to police these fraternities to make sure that the excess is not just racism, but the sexism and the abusiveness of the hazing process should be constrained. But I'm a little bit reluctant to trample on the First Amendment rights and the freedom of association. I mean, what's next? Are we going to outlaw Black student unions, Latino student unions, gay rights?
No, but wait a minute now, but there is a big difference here. Hang on, Niger, because, and I realize again that you're not an expert on this, and neither am I, that we're discussing this just between two men who are trying to understand what's happened here. But let's be honest, the Greek system itself, many people would say it is just an oppressive system of conventional attractiveness, if you will, wealth, class-based social systems, that's what that is. You're talking about other social groups. They're there for a reason. They allow many other people in, and they talk to a greater number of people here. But they say that the Greek system is just so focused and at many times so racist in the way that it's put together that it simply doesn't work in many instances.
I think actually, I actually believe that the Greek system is reflected of American society. It's a reflection of American society.
How so?
At a time when we were segregated, okay, as a country, you had two Greek systems, right? You had a Greek system for whites, but you also had an extremely powerful Greek system for blacks on historically black colleges. For example, my older brother pledged one of the black fraternities, and he would not give that away and cast dispersion on that opportunity that he had and the fact that it has helped him throughout his professional life for anything in the world. So I think we have to be a little careful here of not taking all of the Greek system, the fraternity system, and casting dispersion at it because of this particular incident at the University of Oklahoma. Having said that, I do believe that pressure should be put on university presidents to police these fraternities that go after
now you're
their
talking.
students.
Now
they
you're
have
finally
responsibility there.
Niger, I do have to agree with you because now you're here, and this was the point I'm getting to here. We do not want to again say that every fraternity is bad. That's not what we're saying. We're saying that what we see here, and if all you have to do is look, you can get on Google anytime and you can look for a lot of these instances at colleges. They happen to an awful lot of Greek fraternities here, but many times it is the university presidents, the administrators, who don't knuckle down, quite frankly, because I think they're afraid of losing those big fat donations from the fraternity brothers down the road that come back to the colleges. It all turns around to money one way or another, Niger.
No, there's no question about that. And we also know that alumni, of course, if you're the child of an alumni, you're going to get a particular advantage over other children. I mean, but that's kind of like a fact of life. That there are going to be associations, relationships that exist, not just in college, but throughout life, where sometimes it's unfair and life is unfair. But I don't know to what extent you want to police or ban these types of associations. Again, I don't want to beat a dead horse here, but I want to go back to the First Amendment. A critical component of the First Amendment is the freedom of association and the ability for you to willingly choose to associate yourself with another individual. I just think, again, you have to put the pressure on college presidents when these incidents occur to be held accountable so that they don't continue and that the excesses are curtailed.
There, I'm going to say that we have agreed on the final point here when we are all out of time. Somebody has got to take the hard. Somebody's got to take the hard line, and it's got to go right to the top. The buck stops there. Niger Innis, always a pleasure to have you on the show, my friend. Be well. We'll talk to you again soon.
You too. Take care.
All right. Stay tuned because we have a final part of this little college picture to discuss when we come back. It's right here on MidPoint.